Welcome to this full body CARS routine. CARS, short for controlled articular rotations, are a great way to isolate every joint and move them through their full range of motion. So let's get started all the way at the top. Bring your chin down towards your chest. Tilt your head to the side and slowly start to draw a big circle over the shoulder. Make sure to really open up through that neck before coming back down to center. You want to think of this as the biggest possible circle that you can draw with your chin. So make sure to lengthen all the way through the neck and feel the tissue stretch at the front. Get ready to change directions. And with these next few repetitions, I really want you to slow things down. Drop your shoulders even further and then focus on taking long, deep breaths. If you can, drop down to your knees for the next exercise. This will make it a little bit easier to keep the hips stacked and avoid overarching your back. Cross your arms in front of your body and similar to before, bend down into flexion. From there, lean to either side and then rotate up. Similar to the last exercise, you want to think of this as drawing a big circle but with your elbows. Once in full extension, you rotate to the other side until you can't anymore, and that's when you side bend back down into flexion. Get ready to change directions. So in short, bend down into flexion, side bend into lateral flexion, rotate to the side and then up into full extension. Bring those elbows nice and high before going back into rotation until you can't any further, and that's when you side bend back down into flexion. For the scapular CARS, come up to a stand, extend your arms out in front and keep those elbows straight and locked in place. Breathe in, create tension, and now think of this movement as a forward, up, back, down. So round your scapula forward, aka away from each other, while keeping the shoulders down. That's protraction. From there, you drive up into elevation, so bring those shoulder blades up. From here, we go into retraction, so think of squeezing the shoulder blades together. And of course, we gotta go back down into scapular depression. Now swap directions for me here. So we'll go back, up, forward, and then down. I want you to separate these movements from each other because we really want to isolate those scapulars and not fall into the trap of doing shoulder circles. As you progress with the techniques, make sure to pay attention to your posture as well, so keep your pelvis tucked and your spine neutral. Pick a working side and turn your hand and thumbs out. Now drive your arm across the body over your midline into adduction until you reach the limit. From there, bring it all the way up, twirl through the fingers into shoulder flexion. Once you're up, we turn the thumb inwards into internal rotation. And as we come down, we reach back into extension as much as we can while keeping the thumb turned in. With shoulder CARS, you reverse every rep right away. So from here, let's reverse into extension as far as we can reach back. Once we reach the limit, we turn the thumb out into external rotation of the shoulder. This will allow you the space to go back up into abduction and then flexion. So go back up and keep fighting for more external rotation as we come back down over the midline of your body back into starting position. Let's switch sides and make sure you create tension throughout the whole body with the non-working arm. So in short, thumb turned out, drive the arm across the midline, all the way up overhead, reach back as you come down. And once you hit your limit, turn the thumb back in. This will allow you the space to bring the arm all the way back down to the side. Let's reverse all the way back until you hit the limit, turn your thumb out to create more space, and then lift your arm all the way up while you keep fighting for more external rotation as you come down into starting position. I know these can be a little bit tricky to start with, but in terms of learning, make sure to follow the course of my voice and use the video as reference. So don't worry too much about the speed, focus on quality repetitions. As with some of the other exercises, it helps to imagine to draw a big circle with your fingers. Let's move on to elbows. We'll do both at the same time, so make sure to keep them nice and close, tucked to the body. Arms extended. Turn both thumbs into internal rotation. We really want to avoid any shoulder movement here, so tucking the elbows really helps. Drive your forearms up as much as possible into flexion, and from there then turn the thumbs back out into external rotation. Lastly, extend the arms back down into starting position. So in, up, out, down, and then get ready to change directions. In terms of reversing the movement, we'll do out, up, in, down. Thanks to the nature of the joint, we really only have 4 movements here, which is the rotation part of it, either internal or external, and then the flexion up and the extension back down. For our wrist cast, let's keep the arms bent at the elbow with both palms facing up. Starting off, we rotate both hands in, so pinkies towards your midline. And as we extend down, we draw a little half circle with our fingers. Now let's rotate back up all the way into wrist flexion until your palms face you. In short, rotate in, so internal rotation, extend down, then rotate out into external rotation before coming back up into flexion. Feel free to change directions or keep it as it is. Let's reverse the movement. So rotate the wrists out away from the midline, down into extension, and then rotate them back in, all the way up into flexion. Also, reminder to keep those elbows locked in place and the fingers extended the whole time. Moving on to the lower body. Starting off with the hips, you can either do these on your forearms or even laying on your side. Bend the knee and drive it up towards your chest into hip flexion while maintaining a neutral spine. From here, push it out to the side into abduction while keeping your hips locked in place. Once you've reached your limit with abduction, turn your knee into hip internal rotation. While internally rotated, we'll move it back and up into extension before bringing both legs back together into adduction. While we reverse it, let's make it a little bit easier for you. Think of this again as drawing a big circle with your knee. So bring it back up, extend the hips, and then push it out to the side into external rotation. Draw your circle from there over the side before coming back down into adduction and flexion. We're swapping sides here, and the reason I include anatomy-related terms is to help you learn some more mobility basics, to give you a better understanding of how certain joints work. With hip casts, there's a few different ways to do them. You could do them either standing, holding onto something. You could do them on your forearms just like this, but you can also do them laying on your side as well, which is probably the most beginner-friendly option. If you struggle with your reps here, then always go back to the concept of drawing a big circle with your knee. So bring it to your chest, all the way out to the side, internally rotating, up and back, down towards your chest, and then reverse the circle. Back and up, externally rotating, so pushing that knee out to the side and bringing it over your side in a big half circle, back down towards your other leg. Remember to create tension throughout your body so it is easier to keep those hips in place and avoid them from shifting side to side. Moving on to knee casts. Bend your leg, and in order to hold it in place, grab onto the back of the knee. This will prevent excessive movement in the hip joint. With your knee bent, turn your big toe inwards, so towards your midline, and then extend the leg up just over 90 degrees roughly. Once up, turn your toes out and bend your leg back down. That is 1 rep. Bear with me here because Julia on screen messed up the first few reps. So in short, turn them in, extend up, turn them out, and then bend down. In, up, out, down. Get ready to swap directions for me here and reverse the movement. So we'll do out, up, in, down. Our knees allow for minimal movement only as they are a stabilizing joint. So we're really focusing on 4 things here: extension of the knee, flexion, and then internal as well as external rotation. Keep in mind that rotation doesn't allow for a lot of movement here. Alright, we're switching sides, so same procedure as before. Bend your leg, hold it in place by grabbing the back of your knee. With your knee bent, turn the toes inwards, then extend up just above 90 degrees. Once you're up, turn the toes out and then bend your leg back down for the first full rep. In short, in, up, out, down. With these next few reps, I really want you to hold that leg in place so the hips don't compensate. Slowly get ready to change directions for me here and then go out, up, in, down. Once you got the hang of the technique, it can be really helpful to focus more so on your heel rather than your toes turning in and out. This will help prevent excessive movement in the ankle joint itself. Stay with me here for the last few reps as we go out, up, in, and down. We have made it all the way down to our ankles. Bend one leg and wrap the same side arm underneath. Then grab onto the other side's forearm and keep it all in place with your hand atop your shin. This will help avoid compensation in your hip and knee joint. From here, you press the foot down into plantar flexion as low as you can. Now rotate it towards the body while keeping the foot pressed down. From here, bring your toes back up with the ankle into dorsiflexion and then rotate them back out. You've heard me say this before. Think about drawing a big circle with the tip of your toes, and if you're ready, feel free to change directions with me here. We'll reverse the movement into an anti-clockwise circle. So let's press the foot down, rotate out away from the body, and then outlining the circle, bring it back up and then rotate back in order to complete the circle. As we switch sides, again, bend the other leg, wrap the same side arm underneath, and then grab onto your other side's forearm, getting into a little chokehold here. Same as before, we'll start to draw a little circle by pushing the foot down, and I accidentally swapped directions here, so we'll go out into external rotation first, up into dorsiflexion, and then turning the foot back in to complete our big circle. We want to draw a really big circle here with the tip of our toes. Slowly get ready to change directions and we'll go clockwise from here. So gas pedal down, rotating the toes in into internal rotation, coming back up into dorsiflexion before bringing them back out into external rotation to finish our circle. Once you got the hang of the technique itself, I want you to focus a little bit more on your posture as well. So really try to create tension throughout the body. It does help a lot with keeping everything in place and isolating the joints. Well done! I hope you enjoyed this little voiceover routine, and I'll make sure to also upload this as a non-talking version so you can really pick and choose whatever you prefer.